In Shinto religion, Izanami and Izanagi were primordial gods, brother and sister, who created the islands of Japan, and gave birth to many other gods, or kami. Izanagi is considered the father of the Japanese pantheon, and portrayed as a creator deity. He also ensures there are more births and deaths each day, in order to preserve his creation. Before the formation of the world, only dark chaos existed. As the time passed, the particles of light rised, forming Takamagahara, the high plane of heaven. When Takamagahara was formed, Japan's first three kami appeared, Amenominakanushi, Takamimusubi and Kamimusubi, and followed by 7 generations of gods. The 8th generation of these deities appeared, who was a male Izanagi meaning he who invites, and a female Izanami meaning she who invites. After their birth, Izanagi and Izanami were tasked by the older gods to bring the order and structure to the chaos of floating darkness. To help them to accomplish this, the couple were given the jeweled spear called Ama no Nuboko, which they would use to create the seas. Once the spear was lifted, the water that dripped from the end of the spear formed the first island of Japan, Onigoro. Izanagi and Izanami decided to make their home there, so they decided it was time to start a family, and host their wedding ceremony. During this marriage, Izanami wrongly spoke first when they passed each other, and as a consequence their first child was a miscarriage, and born an ugly child without bones. This was the god Hiriko, who became the patron of fishermen, and one of the 7 gods of good luck, and was abandoned by his parents. Devastated, they asked their parents, the 7 invisible gods, the reason for their misfortune. Tsukami told them that incorrect performance of the marriage ritual was the reason. They returned home and completed the ritual as instructed. Soon after, Izanami gave birth successively to the islands of Awaji, Shikoku, Okikyushu and Tsushima. Izanami gave birth to many more children, like Watachumi, god of the sea, Kuku-noshi, god of the trees, Yamasumi, god of the mountains, and other natural manifestations. But Izanami was burnt to death when she gave birth to Kagutsuki, god of fire, despite her husband's attempts to save her. Even after the death, some gods were born from her body. Enraged, Izanagi cut off the head of Kagutsuki, whose birth had killed his wife. Further offsprings were born from his sword. Grief-stricken Izanagi followed her down into the underworld. He was unable to rescue Izanami as she had already eaten food in the underworld, and so was forbidden to return to the living. However, Izanami agreed to go and ask the resident kami if she could possibly go back with him. Before she went, Izanami asked her husband to promise not to go right inside the mansion. He agreed, but after a whole day had passed and she did not return, Izanami could not wait longer, so attempted to see his beloved wife. Izanami was in shock when he saw her. The body of the goddess was already decomposing. The 8 thunders and the ugly females chased the god out of the underworld. Finally reaching the outside world, Izanami blocked the entrance by a huge rock. Henceforth, Izanami known as the goddess of the dead. The kami had to perform a cleansing rituals in the river Woto, to rid himself of the impurities of the underworld. During these rituals the various gods were born. Amaterasu, goddess of sun, born when he washed his left eye. Tsukiyomi, god of the moon, when he washed his right eye. Susanoo, the storm god, when he washed his nose.